Welcome to the Help My Unbelief podcast, the #1 Christian podcast designed for the unbeliever.
Are we starting 30 minutes early?
We always do.
Oh, the intro.
We technically always do. Not 30 minutes, but usually. Yeah, you usually pretty close, yeah.
How do you like that?
Well,
We technically always do.
I don't sound like that. I don't sound like that. We technically always... I don't sound like that, dude.
You're correct. You don't.
God.
But I can't make
I'm
fun
not
of you
that
talking
nerdy,
normal.
dude. I'm not that nerdy, am I?
You're not nerdy.
Okay. God, dude, that was super. That made me self-conscious the way you just did that.
Yeah, Larry.
It just doesn't
God.
take much.
What's up, duders?
Duders.
Yeah.
How are you doing, man?
I was going to say we can't, I can't test you guys on the word duders anymore. We have already done it, right?
Yeah,
The Big Lebowski?
You've worn us out. Okay, listen.
You're being mean today, dude.
He is, Larry.
He acts like we haven't seen each other all week. Oh, we haven't.
Yeah, we have. I seen you
For
on
5
this
seconds.
week. Yeah.
I was here for both services on Sunday.
Yeah. I'm always in the back
And
now,
I saw
yeah.
you for 5 seconds.
I'm in the back half of the time now.
You came out just in time for me to talk to a new couple that I met last week. I talked to them, and then she goes, "What's your hobby?"
Yeah. Who was that? She was in the back watching me for that whole service. I was like, well, that doesn't seem like something a new person would do.
What were you doing in the back?
What? No, he's
Oh, I'm a
always in the back.
director. I'm a director half the time now.
Who was in the back
so
with you?
you're like camera 3?
Oh, no. I'm
Like directing?
So like there's like a wall of
technical director?
yeah, there's like a wall of TVs and stuff, and we have like 5 cameras, operators.
Right. So you call
yeah.
the cameras and somebody switches.
No,
Yeah.
I switch.
You switch.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
sometimes they have, because it's all volunteer positions. So sometimes, well, actually only one time ever have I had someone switching for me. But most of the time I'm switching myself. I'm saying like, ready, camera 3,
Go
go 3,
right?
ready 2, or 2, go over here and look at this, or this guy's doing this and get this shot, get that, and then I'm just switching the whole time.
Did years of working for directors. I remember the very first time I got my lesson. It was the Oklahoma City bombing, and it was a live shot.
Oh.
Yeah, a live shot for extra. And it was a baby face guy that used to work for Court TV. And he came up to me and he goes, "Okay, Mark." So when I get to this part in my dialogue, I want you to rack focus, zoom over my shoulder into the building. Right, that spot right up there, that's where some guy was trapped, And then when I get to this part, I want you to pull back, put me back in focus for the tag. And I'm like, never heard of that before. Okay.
I heard rack, a camera operator taught me rack focus, recently. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. So I think that was my first live shot. And so the director's in my ear, and so the guy's live on TV talking about the Murrah building, and I go off and start rack focusing to the back, and the director just explodes in my ear. And it's like, "Oklahoma City, what the blankety blank do you think you're doing? You blank, we can see the blankety blank building.
Yeah.
Pull out, just screaming at me." So
Wow.
so I finish the move, then I do a nice pull out, put it back, and then right after the live shot, my phone rings, and I'm like, "Hello," and it was
Him.
it was the director. He was like, "Why did you do that?" And I said, "Well,
You told me to.
the talent." I said, "The talent told me before the shot. At this point," and he goes, "Put him on the phone."
Oh, wow.
I gave the guy the phone. He's like, "Yes, sir. No, sir. Never again, sir." So that's when I learned
Wow.
that the director was God.
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
my lesson.
So-
And luckily I got to work again for them.
In this case, the production that Emily is the overseer. She's yelling at me to make sure I'm getting everything right, and she really gives me room to like grow into it because I've never done anything like it. So she just kind of lets me kind of creatively grow into it. She doesn't like bark at me to,
you got to because you're already under pressure switching anyway. The last thing you need is somebody yelling at you the whole time.
It was weird. It was weird. Whenever I walked in that room, I knew that was the position that I wanted, and because I knew it would help us here. I knew it would.
So you said that lady went to the back?
Yeah. The lady you met in church, she was new, and I gathered that, but she was in the back the whole time right after we got done talking.
The older lady.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Yeah. I took it, and she was like asking a bunch of questions.
How did she even get back there?
So Emily was like telling her about what's going on. I don't know if she was like training to be like a online host or something. I don't know. But surely you would be volunteering.
So she didn't come back on her own.
No.
Emily took her back there.
Yeah, she was like supposed to be back there.
Okay.
But I just thought it was weird for a new person to be back there, So
they did have the new meeting for everyone.
Yeah, I don't know why we're talking about stuff that the listeners are nobody's going to know what we're talking about. And they're like, "Oh, I guess we're having secrets of Zach and Larry and Mark's church now."
Well, the church did say that they're going to have a new member, like for volunteers to help out. Because
yeah.
Now that we're doing El Reno too,
Yeah.
so it's probably why they did have they did that night. Neat night. I don't want that on me.
Oh,
But-
yeah. That's
so
what I was going to say. That
volunteered night.
I was going to say that like I'll tell you this in case you're close to the Oklahoma City metro area and you're listening to this, we would love for you to come to our church first of all, and we're in need of volunteers for many positions because we are growing. We've taken over a church in El Reno now, and I have such a good feeling about that is in particular, that church in particular, because we're already good here. You know what I mean? We're already, just like you told me the other day, this is an undeniable Holy Spirit experience here at this church.
Very much so.
And I'm excited to see El Reno get that too. And I think with leadership from here going over there, it's undeniable. I think it's just inevitable. That's going to happen. So I'd love for people to come here and experience what I've gotten to experience, because I was a different guy than what you're seeing right now on camera a little over a year ago. And because of the positions I've put myself in at this church is how I've been able to grow. There's still a lot of stuff I got to work through and stuff, personal issues and stuff that I got to work through. But the director position, it's a higher up position in anywhere you go. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I went in there, and the first time I saw Craig doing it, I was like, that's it. And Emily let me run with it. She's like, you and Craig are the only directors now, or the only directors I'm going to let you have. And so me and Craig are splitting time with it now.
That's because it takes a personality type that has some psychopathic tendencies.
That it would be me. Most people would take offense to that, but I'm like, that's me.
I mean, psychopathic tendencies, all independent business. Larry's got them. I've got them. Mm-hmm. You've got them. Most independent business owners
I do
have psychopathic tendencies.
Is that what I consider analism?
No, it's more of command.
He's always talking about
people comfortable with
bushes.
command. Basically, organizers, people that can see. Yeah, it's because that's because business attracts people with psychopathic tendencies. Why work for somebody when I can do the kitty myself?
I just feel like I don't fit in much of, I'll say this.
Right.
I don't feel like I fit in much of anywhere, even in running my own business. I feel like sometimes I don't have what it takes. Like, I get one person complain and throw a little shade at me, and it'll destroy me for 2 days.
I remember what it used to be like.
You know what I mean? Like,
I remember that when I first went out on
not now. You're not like that now.
No, now I'm like, okay, well, you can't please everybody all the time. I'll do what I can.
I hope I can get that way
to make it right.
I'll throw this in there. Okay. Since I come to the Lord, since I ended up having to basically really depend on my business. I used to as a side gig. Colossians 5:17.
Is that the one that says, do it as you're doing it unto the Lord?
Yeah,
if you do
say that a lot.
Then you remove the human factor completely.
If you truthfully do the quality that you would do for the Lord, If that's your focus, is I'm just trying to please the Lord in everything that I do, that means I won't cut corners. I won't do it halfway. I won't back off. I won't accept mediocre. My customer's protected because of my dedication to doing it for the Lord.
And I think all three of us do our work that way, but I identify with what Zach is saying because you're in your first 5 years of this business?
I mean, first two, yeah.
First two. We are what we do as men. And so I just remember that period of where, oh man, I screwed it up. I'm never going to, I suck. I stink, man.
Yeah.
In fact, for me, it was the first 10 years, solid 10 years of my business. I
God,
crucified myself with every mistake. That shot wasn't completely in focus. I can't believe I missed that.
Do
you grow out of that?
Yeah, but
I like what you said, Larry.
Do you think you need to be that way, though? Maybe you do need to be that way. I don't know. I just, like I said, I don't feel like I fit in 100% anywhere. It's weird. Like, I feel like I'm such an oddball. Like, I look at myself and how I interact with anybody. Like, I don't have a ton of friends. Mm-hmm. Like, and even the friends I do have, it's almost like I push them away a little bit,
Quality, not quantity.
I always just, that's true. That is true. I agree with that. I don't know, man. I just seem like I'm a little different, and it's just kind of annoying.
Well, I've noticed you're a little short, but other than that,
that's not. No, I'm not. I'm very average height.
I'm just playing with you.
I'm very average height.
5'9"-ish.
My doctor told me I was 5'10", and I've been running with it.
Anytime you're going to pull the scab off a wound, I'm going to come along with some salt.
Well,
and rub it in there
because
for
you're
you.
one of those tall guys.
Yeah.
And you're right. I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I know. Larry comes up to give you a hug. It's like you better bring a ladder and pack a lunch.
Yeah.
That when you gave me a hug in front of that new lady, she kind of looked at me weird because he gave me like an extra big hug, and she looked at me kind of weird. And I said, he does that because he knows I'm uncomfortable with affection. Right. And she goes,
training. That was what the extra lingering and the playing with your hair was.
Yeah, yeah. I was doing that with my toe.
That's not right.
I was twisting my toe.
Yeah. Every time I pat him on the head, people kind of look at me strange. I don't know.
Are you petting that
I'm trying
kid?
to help you grow, boy. I'm trying to help you grow.
Man. Yeah, it's been a weird experience just being alive recently, because I just kind of go like this. And because we're looking at what's going on in the world right now with like Israel and stuff like that, and I'm not trying to be like the end times tomorrow type of guy, but like when you look at, have you seen videos of like how sophisticated this war is? Have you seen any of the videos? Like it's actually, most of the time, I was telling Mark earlier, most of the time I can disconnect from things like this that's going on in the world. I can disconnect from it just because, that's not happening to me. That's 1,000 miles away. But then when I watch these videos of the missiles and this Iron Dome in Israel and stuff like that, and to see how sophisticated war has become.
Man, that's the way I was with Desert Storm. Did you see the picture of the cruise missile when they put the camera on the front of the cruise missile and they show it going to this warehouse, and this jihadist comes out and opens the door, sees the missile and slams the door, and the missile goes right through the door.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we're the king. We're flying missiles through windows and doors, man.
Everybody, that's the problem now, is like, we're not the king anymore. Like, we are one of the kings. We have provided so much. Like, we gave money to, I don't want to get banned from whatever we're going to be, but we gave money to.
Just drop it.
I know.
Yeah, we can't go any further with that.
Nope.
Yeah, but anyway, I've been in a weird spot lately, man.
Yeah,
I've been in a weird spot lately.
We follow that down that rabbit hole, and
because
we're going to find a nest of snakes.
Yeah. What's the deal though? What's the deal? We always talk about the rapture and the end times, but then stuff that really kind of leads you to believe that the end times is right around the corner, and we're not talking about it. Why?
Well, we're not talking about the political side of it.
Yeah. Does it scare you a little bit?
Absolutely not.
Seriously, not at all.
First off, we are doing a study of Revelation.
Mark told me that.
We are watching it play out in front of us.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Mark, but I'm excited.
Well, if you read...
This is verification of what is written in the Bible and prophesied many, many eons ago. And it's played out right in front of us.
Will you do me a favor?
With accuracy.
Will you do me a favor? Please. Not right now. Not right now. But will you do me a favor? Serious. And I mean this. I'm being serious. So Mark says you're like in Revelation chapter 12 right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not asking you to agree with me, but I'm asking when you get to Revelation chapter 16 and Revelation chapter 17. It's 16. It might be 17 and 18. And it's about the fall of Babylon, fall of the Babylon the Great. John was talking about the great city.
I've heard
I know you have.
We've discussed your opinion on that, yes.
But I want you to at least read that with my viewpoint in the back of your mind.
Oh, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I've been going over it. Yeah.
So we sink into the ocean, and the next thing we know, we get to see Jesus. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, the thing is
it says,
we are arrogant, and we Americans think that all the world revolves around us.
Yeah.
Revelation 17 and 18.
And we are in the opinion that we will be there during the end times.
Mm.
I don't see that biblically.
I don't know. What do you think about the feet of the image with Daniel?
That's in Daniel, yeah.
Yeah, now, of course, the clay and iron could mean that they're at the very end times, there's no dominant world empire, but yet the Revelation says you won't be able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast. So,
right, but I mean that is.
But I've heard a lot of people say that it symbolizes the United States.
So let me explain
the iron and clay.
It's not a symbolization.
Let me explain my viewpoint on Revelation 17 and 18 and why I think that the fall of the great city Babylon is the first thing that happens. And it's just from how I know people are reacting. So what John was talking about is in Revelation chapter 17 and 18, he says that this great city was so powerful, and one of the most shocking points of the thing that he was seeing was that it was destroyed in under 1 hour. The whole thing was toppled and sunk into the ocean within 1 hour.
Could that not be the fall of Rome?
I don't know.
Which burned in one day?
Mm-hmm.
So hold on. So he's talking about an hour being destroyed and stuff, that 100 fire dots found its mark, that not a single one missed.
Mm-hmm.
Not a single one missed. All of them. Well, that's another fascinating thing that we talk about. Like, well, if we get nukes in our way, we would just intercept them with our high level, But this is saying that whatever happens, all 100 of them going to hit it. Going to get hit right. They're going to find their mark. And another thing that I noticed was the kings of the world were mourning because they won't get to commit adultery with this great city anymore. Nobody who's going to buy
about doing business.
Yeah, who's going to buy our goods, our frankincense, our incense, our myrrh?
They did that with Rome,
our
too.
clothing, or who's going to sing us our songs? Because who do we sing we travel all over to Australia, to Europe, to China, to Korea. All of our talent goes over there and sells these tours. Says who's gonna sing us our songs? Who's gonna do all these things? So the reason why I think it's number one is because when the end of the world kicks off, I think things start escalating pretty quickly, and the state of the world will probably be in a place that's less than happy at that point. Maybe surviving, maybe still committing sins and stuff like that. Of course, still committing sins, but still in a point to where it's not business as usual, right? And what John was talking about, Revelation chapter 17 and 18, was that before these events happened, people were conducting themselves business as usual.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why it's just a speculation. There's nothing biblical. It's just something that I sociologically think by how people act, that's the first thing.
Let me read 17:5. 17:5. This title was written on her forehead. Mystery. Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and of the abominations of the earth.
Abomination of desolation.
I saw that the woman was drunk. This is 6. I saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of those who bore testimony to Jesus.
So a lot of people that have been martyred for Christ has been a result of this great city. Yeah.
Well,
Epstein Island.
We're still trying to make it a city. It's a spirit, to be honest with you. It's the spirit of Babylon that is upon this country. And yeah, look, I saw, man, I don't want to go into this, but I saw several clips from actors. They have recreated the city of Babylon in Hollywood. They worship there.
Oh, there's a movie coming out. I think I just saw called Babylon, I think, and they were like glorifying it.
Yeah,
yeah, making it seem like it was like a Babylon was like a good thing or whatever.
they're doing their best to steer you down that path. I mean, you're either going to stand for Christ or you're going to fall.
Are you scared at all? Are you nervous at all?
No, particularly I used to be back when I had 1 foot in the world and 1 foot kind of in the way I was brought up. So, the Bible says I'd rather be hot or cold than lukewarm.
Revelation, that's in Revelation too.
Yeah. So that filled me with fear because I didn't want to be in the end times. I wanted to do because I had this visualization of, yeah, man, some of the stuff I'm doing, I don't want Jesus to be coming right when that happens.
You want your robe to be white. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be able to repent from that later. Just let me get this section of my life over with first.
Yeah.
And so, but no, I don't have any fear of it now because I live a cohesive life now.
Yeah.
I'm not split in two like I used to be. The spirit battling against.
Like I still have questions.
So now you're living with one master.
I'm living with one master. That's right.
And you're understanding the master is the master of your spirit and the master of your flesh.
Body. Exactly.
See, like me, I'm pre that.
Right. And that's the cool thing because then Revelation used to fill me with dread and worry. Now it's really comforting because it is the revelation of Jesus Christ, and he's seated at God's right hand, man, and he has all authority and all power, and he's going to come down and rule this place.
What concerns me about that, though, is that John warns the people that's living in whatever city this is.
Woe to the
depart from her, or you'll share in her woe, or you'll share in her
so basically,
torments.
depart from the world. Depart from the world.
Fair enough.
You can either live in the world, and I heard somebody sum it up really nice for me. I was going on a Revelation rant about 20 years ago, and the guy looked at me and he said, Mark, it comes down to this. You don't have to worry about the how or the why of it. There's 2 teams. Make sure you're on the right one. And I appreciated that. And so I know today I'm on the right team. And whatever happens, what's that verse in the Bible? It says, don't worry about what man can do to you. Worry about the one that can throw you
destroy both body and soul in hell.
Destroy your body and soul. That's right. That's the one we need to worry about. That's the one I worry about today. Plus, at 56, I'm starting to get tired.
And you're like,
I'm ready for a dirt nap. If God doesn't come in my life, I'm ready to take a nap until I see Jesus.
Yeah.
I want to take as many as I can on the way.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
it's why I'm considered bold.
Yeah,
in my witness.
And that's what I'm trying to work towards. Is I'm starting to have now more of a heart for the kingdom, and that's where I needed to be all along. But man, all through my youth, it was me. What about me, mine? That's all I cared about.
I was right there with you.
I don't care about you at all. You're just in my way.
Yep.
I think I have an ominous feeling. I do. Bad. It's huge. You can ask her. It's been plaguing me the last few days.
But you also have a spirit of fear that you have not released.
Let me tell you why I think I feel ominous. And it's not because I'm afraid of God coming back. And it's not because the circumstances I've been going through. I think it's because God's calling for a massive change in my life. Like, there was a point in the last year where God was asking me to do a bunch of stuff, and it was always, yes, Lord. And that's not that way right now. And God's escalating like he always does with me to say, like, we're not going anywhere until you obey me. And I'm at a point where I'm saying no.
But see,
but that's the thing. I don't know why I'm saying no. I seriously don't. I don't know why. I have a chat with myself. Sometimes I'm like, you're an idiot. You know that this doesn't turn out good. What are you doing? But I still say no. Like
I so identify.
He's
with
growing.
that. Yeah.
He's growing.
like
Finally
I'm
growing.
sitting here. It's like there's two different people inside my body having a war with each other.
Yep.
Right
And
now, Mark and I can fist bump on this.
Right.
I know which one wins. I just wish, I know which one wins. I just want it to be to where it's easy. Like I can just make the decision and it be easy, but I
Wow.
can't.
Right.
Wow.
Paul talks
I
about
want it
that.
easy.
Oh, wretched man that I am, I cannot do what I should do. I do what I should
Yeah.
not do and what I don't want to do.
And what's weird
it
when
is
you're
literally
younger,
learning to die
Yeah.
to your flesh.
when you're younger, you do those things and you think they're right. And
Mhm.
you stick the middle finger up to anybody that tells
Right.
you it's not. But
Which-
now I'm in this
Which
area.
that action in itself should say that it's wrong.
Right.
Right, of course, yeah.
But no, it's defiant.
Well, it's funny, I have
it's
a-
independent. I rule.
I have a stepson that's 21, and I know I talked to you about how you said that you could barely tolerate being around me, and I was like, that kid right there is 21, and acts like that. Barely stand to be around him sometimes. You know what I mean? But the crazy part is, I'm almost certain that I was worse than him whenever I was 21.
Okay, but wait a minute.
That's what drives me nuts
So-
about my stepdaughter.
Yeah.
She's exactly the way I was at her age.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, he is the same age behind you as you are behind me.
Yeah.
Technically. Okay?
Yeah. Well, I can
So
get the
I'm
frustration.
60. You're not yet 40.
So
I
now
like
when you
so
get to
now-
60 and he's not yet going to
I'll
be
be
40.
far more cantankerous than you at
Right,
60.
yeah. And
But
so
see-
now
Far
you
more.
understand the comment.
but-
it wasn't
yeah.
personal.
But see,
No, I know.
it's a
hold on.
generational thing.
But see, he's your son.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I love him.
There's
I love
there's
him.
a
He's
whole
such
lot.
a
There's
good
a whole
kid,
lot
man.
of difference when you meet somebody, and then you've grown used to and accustomed to them, and we developed a relationship.
Yeah.
But I don't know all your nuances from before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't learn. Okay, this is Zach. This is Zach's
Yeah.
thought. This is Zach's way. I don't know all that. I'm coming
You know,
in blind.
year. Yeah. You know, a year of growth, like, which is still
Yeah.
tremendous, but you don't know.
I don't know
Pre-me.
why you're that way.
And I've seen other people too. I've seen other people that didn't know pre-Zach too, that treat me like I'm this squared away, disciplined individual, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
that's a very short portion of my life,
I
bub.
mean, this is a really poor example, but really it's not. It's a worldly example. It's just like I got a really huge credit line increase. And I was like, I looked at my wife and it was like Married with Children. I was like, well, what are they thinking? They don't know us very well.
Yeah.
Well, no, the simple fact is their short period of time, I've been faithful. And so they're making some assumptions about risk based upon that. Same with you. But you're going, well, you ain't seen my whole life. You've
Yeah.
just seen this last little nice.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
this dude calling me up about 2 or 3 times a week, asking me if I'm ready to sell my house. And I don't know if it's the same one. I can't remember. But my point is, I actually did talk to him one day, and I said, yeah, I'll accept an offer.
Mm-hmm.
And he said,
Double.
oh, you would? And I said, yeah.
Double.
2.5 million.
Right.
Dang.
And he goes, but your house isn't worth it. I said, it is to me.
There you go.
And did he ever call you back?
I'm not sure if it's the same one. Really? You don't remember that conversation? But I've been telling them, yes, even on the text when they sent them, yes, I'll take 2.5 million.
Yeah. It's kind of like
You
the.
could probably buy my whole neighborhood.
It's funny yeah, you probably could, yeah. At least your side of the block there, but this guy that I still go to like a bar every now and then and watch MMA fights with my buddy because I love MMA still.
I've been praying for you on that.
And they go out to these, well, it's not really a bar, it's like it's a bar.
Now you're justifying it.
No, it is. It's Buffalo Wild Wings. Like we go to Buffalo
It's a
Wild
bar.
Wings and we go there and I have
Do the women wear shorts?
Not really.
no.
Okay, see,
No.
it's been eons.
I've
I
been
can't
to
remember.
ones that do,
It's
but
not like Peaks or
Yeah.
Twin Peaks or
Yeah.
Hooters.
Hooters. No.
Okay,
well, we've
yeah.
been to that one too. But
Yeah, but
anyway.
I wouldn't go to either
We've been to
one of
that one
them.
too.
Now, I wouldn't go to either one of them.
Yeah, probably not, but I mean, it probably shouldn't. But anyway, I go watch MMA fights with my friends, right? And I have literally no concern about drinking at all, right? Well, these guys only know the Zach that doesn't drink. right? They know the guy that gets up at 5 o'clock every morning and goes and runs 4 miles or works out or does whatever. They know this squared away, respectful individual, and they pressure me to drink every time I go. And I just politely say no. And I've got to the point where I'm just like, I'm going to be very frank with them to be like, guys, I'm never drinking again, just to let you know. And they've never saw me drink, period. Well, one time they came together, or he said he pressured me to drink again. I said, tell you what, I'll get a drink right now. And he's like, you probably handle it. And I was like, you may be right. You may be right. I may be able to handle it. But I tell you what, if I can't and something bad happens and I go back down this path of addiction again, I need you to make a deal with me. I need you to make a deal with me that you're going to be there drinking with me every single night. I used to stay up till 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning on YouTube in the garage by myself. I'm going to need you to be there, okay? And I'm going to need you to call up your wife and get her permission that you can make that happen. If you're willing to take on that risk and be there with me every single night doing what I do when I get addicted,
Right.
I'll do it. Stuck up my hand. He was like, no, I'm good. Never asked me to drink again.
I heard somebody in recovery once go, yeah, somebody asked him, hey, man, you take a drink. It won't hurt you. He said, yeah, but it might hurt you. You want to lose your wife and half the stuff you own?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it'd be like, seriously, dude, I'm almost 40 and you're trying peer pressure on me.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me try my peer pressure on you. You come to church with me.
Right.
Yeah, let's go to
Come
church.
to church with me.
Every day.
Come to church with me.
Let's go to both services, dude. Let's get crunk in the Holy Spirit, dude.
Both services. Be here at 5 o'clock on Sunday. Be here on for ambassadors on Wednesday.
Let's walk around the church 7 times before service.
Be in class on Wednesday. Be in Bible study on Thursday night. And if I can find somebody to hang out with for small groups, which we do sometimes, Friday night or Saturday, I'm in.
Grind for the Lord, baby.
Yeah. I need as much reinforcement so that I can say no to my flesh.
You know what, man? I have noticed since I quit doing the Bible study that it's a lot harder to say no to the flesh than what it was before.
Mm-hmm. Because you were in the Word. You had a relationship with the Word.
Well, and I was
Let me
feeling
ask you a
half
question.
of a day every day. You know?
And you were. And I'm going to ask you, how much do you read your Bible a day now?
Virtually nothing. Yeah.
Okay, so let me paraphrase, or not paraphrase. Let me give you an example. You love Angela. You're married to Angela. Y'all are with each other all the time.
Yeah,
I mean,
constantly.
like you probably have maybe less than an hour a day that you're not together, right?
Yeah, probably a couple
Okay,
hours
okay.
maybe.
Now you go 3 weeks without talking to her.
Yeah, it would suck.
Go 3 weeks, see if that relationship lasts.
I'm sure we'd be fine, but yeah, it would
Really?
suck.
You want to gamble on it?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, my point is that it's not going to.
Yeah.
That'll drive a wedge in between. Then you're going to start bickering at each other. Then you're going to start complaining to each other or about each other. And then before long, you're in a knockdown drag out.
Yeah.
And all it was is that you ignored her for 3 weeks.
Yeah. I know it's been a big deal in my life not filling myself with what I used to.
My point is, every day you have a regiment that you do every day. Why can you not include 15 minutes of a Bible study?
I know that there's certain things I do right now where it's like I should be doing this for the Lord instead of this.
Do you know why I write the devotionals? So
you
that
can
I
study.
have my time in the Word.
Yeah.
So I have my time.
A lot more
in the
people
Word.
are seeing those on Facebook too now.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of wigging me out.
That's cool, huh?
Yeah.
That makes me really happy.
Do you know that it said, welcome your new, what do you call them? New what?
Yeah.
Welcome your new followers.
Yeah.
Followers.
Yep.
Welcome. And I
I think we should call them like-a-billies.
Yeah. Here, I hit that button, and then I scrolled, and I didn't get to the end of it before I went, yeah, dude, I can't do that. I didn't know how to welcome them.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Well, you know-
hey, guys, we really appreciate you coming onto the Facebook page. I'm sorry I didn't personally reach out to you and say welcome, but you are all welcome at any given time.
Well,
Thank you.
our new friends totals over 10,000 people. That's why you can't.
That's why I didn't get to the end of the scroll. It's,
Yeah.
dude, yes. See your eyes just got that big?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's like,
we picked up on Facebook alone. On Facebook alone, in the last 30 days, we reached over 2 million people. Over 2 million accounts saw.
Can you wrap your mind around that? Because I gotta ignore it. Otherwise, I freak completely out.
In the 80s, when I had long hair, I always wanted an audience that long, that big.
Now it's scary. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't sing. You know.
I can comprehend that.
And now I know much less than I did then.
Yeah.
Much less.
I want to say this.
And that's a big number.
But I am doing my best to do all of this for an audience of one.
That's right. It's for God.
There you go. I want to say this. I want to make it like I know you're everybody's seeing that I'm posting less clips, and I am sorry for that. But I will get back to doing it again. But I posted almost 7 days a week. There was a point where I was posting 2 a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, for a period of like 6 months. And I just got wore out. And I'm not posting clips because of a specific guest that I didn't like or I didn't feel like they needed to be seen. It's just I needed a break. I need a break, and I'm taking like a 2 or 3 week break from it.
He's the technical dude, and we don't know. He's a camera dude. He's a technical dude, and I don't know squat.
Yeah. So I'm fitting to teach Larry how to do these clips. That way I can just pass them off to him, and he can.
I don't think Larry Autry would be welcome to that.
No,
I was talking about you.
Good try.
And hey, I'm going to tell you this. You know, I was talking about you.
He was doing the. Deflection
You're doing the deflection thing. Yeah. But yeah, I need a break. I'm taking a break. It's no offense to any of the guests or anything else. It's just all it is I need a break, and people probably need a break from us too. So
we are 1 month away
from our 1 year.
1 year.
That's so crazy, dude.
1 year, 1 month away from 1 year.
That's so crazy, man. It's so crazy. It doesn't feel like.
And I'm more charged up about this now than I really was then. I didn't think I didn't think it'd go anywhere.
I'm not. I go through seasons with it to where I'm charged up and then I'm not, and then I'm charged up and then I'm not. I have a.
You're still battling flesh.
Well, I let this get to me too. I still have to learn how to beat this. My mind, you know.
He literally made the action of exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Yep. I let this get to me. That's your flesh.
But we got to get to our guests. We're at 38, so we got to give our guests some time today. But this guy's name is Mikechigan, which I'm assuming he's from Michigan, and his name is Mike. He is friends with Dustin, which is Atheist Asked. I'm sure you guys remember him. He's from Texas, or he was in Texas. He goes around the world in an RV. Super nice atheist. This guy calls himself an anti-theist, which we'll ask him what that means.
What was Dustin? You said blah, 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 Dustin.
You Atheist Asked? You remember? Okay. You remember Dustin, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And then anti-theist, and we'll ask him and figure out what that means. So let's get to him, Mikechigan. There he is.
Hello.
Mikechigan, right?
Yep. You can just call me Mike, but
I drew this super intelligent conclusion that your name's Mike and you're from Michigan.
Yes.
Boom. I knew I was smart. Did you like that, Mark?
From Mike Sheehan.
Yeah, man.
His name's Mike.
Mikechigan.
Michigan.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's ironic.
Yep.
Mikechigan.
Yeah.
So
people get creative. I've seen Michiganes too, from a bodybuilder from Michigan.
Oh,
Michiganes.
Michiganes.
I like that.
So have you watched the podcast at all?
I follow you guys on TikTok, and I watch your clips all the time. I did listen to the full episode when you had my friend Dustin, or Atheist Asks, on.
Okay.
So I listened to that whole episode, but mostly just the highlights on TikTok.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go over the show and stuff for you, and go over kind of like the house rules, which there aren't many, but and go over like kind of how the structure of the show is, and then I'm gonna introduce everybody. Okay. Okay, so this is the Help My Unbelief podcast. We are a non-debate show. We started this podcast because we basically saw a hole in the Christian market, I guess you can say, is that we saw the way that Christians were kind of treating unbelievers, or just not any treatment at all to unbelievers. We saw that basically pushing them to the side and not giving them a voice or listening to them at all. and we aim to change that. So what we want to stray away from here is debating. We don't want to debate. We want to hear your story, man. That's pretty much what we want to do. So we just want to stray away from debating. If sometimes it starts to happen, and then we usually shut it down pretty quick. I don't mind a little getting in the weeds, of if like Larry tells you his experience with something, and then you tell him why you're against his viewpoint on that because of your experience in this. I'm not saying that we're going to be super strict on stuff like that, but we do want to stay away from like any hateful rhetoric, and we'll respect you. And I know you'll respect us too,
of course,
especially because you're friends with Dustin, one of the nicest guys on the planet, I think there. So,
yeah.
So, and then there's that, that's pretty much it, man. And then since you're you said you're an anti-theist, so I'm sure that we don't have to worry about you doing any rituals or witchcraft on air or anything like that.
No. No.
Okay, good deal. Okay, I'm going to go around the room and introduce everybody to you. I've got my executive producer, Mark, here in studio today.
Hey, Mike.
Hi, Mark.
How's it going?
My lovely
How you
wife,
doing?
Angela.
Hello.
Hello.
My longtime and good friend, Larry, co-host.
How you doing?
And then I'm
Hey, Larry.
Zach. I'm Zach. I'm the host. Man, we're glad to have you on, dude.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and I like what like you said. I like what you guys are doing. You're right. Most believers are dismissive towards atheists or the atheist position. So I appreciate you giving us a platform.
Yeah, man. It's honestly been an honor, and watching all of us grow, which we're all going to have an episode on episode 52, where we're not going to have a guest on at all on episode 52.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about, because a lot of the times we just talk to, unbelievers or people that used to not believe and believe now, and we get their perspective. But we all actually wanted to have a show to where we talk about what this show has been for us and how we've grown, because we've learned so much since being on this show. So I'm excited to give the audience that portion of us too,
Yeah. I'll definitely tune into that one. That'll be an interesting one.
Heck yeah. So you're an anti-theist, and I'm actually got another anti-theist slated next month to come on, and they kind of explained it to me in text, but I'm unfamiliar with that term in general. Now, are you mainly an atheist? Because anti-theist, that makes me believe, when I hear that term, it makes me think that you believe in God, but you're against him. Is that true?
No. So I'm an atheist. So basically that, you're here most regularly defined as somebody who just lacks a belief in God. So it's not necessarily a positive position or anything. It's just, you're not convinced that a God exists, and you're not convinced that you're an agnostic atheist, you're an agnostic theist, because nobody knows that, for sure that God exists. So agnostic just means without knowledge. So I don't know that God doesn't exist or does exist. I hope you guys will be credible enough to say you can't say with 100% certainty that God exists or doesn't exist. So in that way, you're also a little bit agnostic. But an anti-theist is somebody who is an atheist, but takes it to a more activist role. So some people will say an atheist activist, but somebody who actively goes puts their voice out, as opposing religion, as opposed to just, you do your thing over there and I do my thing over here. I actually try to help people with the deconstruction, or help people that are in the deconstruction process, or, speak to friends and family when I get the chance, and, how those situations can sometimes devolve. But when they give me the opportunity, just to question their beliefs, why they believe it, get them to think about it a little bit more, always just in a respectful way. I don't think anybody that is religious is dumb or stupid or anything like that. I was a believer myself. So it's nothing like that. It's just, I think it's indoctrination, and, to break that cycle sometimes. I mean, as you well know, most people who are Christians go to church every Sunday, maybe don't even crack their Bible open. They just rely on the pastor to tell them what's in there, or think they have an understanding of it and think they don't need to read the Bible because they go to church every Sunday. So basically I point out, what's in the Bible, and, I'm not saying that they have to be on my side or that I'm necessarily right about everything, but, this is what's in here. This is what this is what you claim to believe in. Do you really agree with that? type
So
thing.
I want to talk about the indoctrination thing real quick, and it's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. And that one's hard for me to believe personally, like that, like we're all being indoctrinated right now. And then I start going down this line in my head. This is literally, I'm going to give you my thought process behind it. I'm like, okay, let's say we all are being indoctrinated, right? And there's this some sort of high-end plan where somebody put together and created this religion, Christianity, right? Which really, I mean, whatever they did that worked, right? They started in the beginning, and somebody got together and said, let's start this thing so we can control people's actions, or for whatever reason, for that matter. That just seems highly improbable that there was this just super segregated group of people that got together and created a whole religion, or a religion to this extent, just to control and indoctrinate people forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And I don't think it started out that way either. Just like every other ancient people, there was myths or beliefs, or they didn't have an explanation of why it rained or why the tide came in and out. So they thought it must have been in some kind of agent. So I think it did start out as, just an explanation for things that they couldn't explain. And then with the Christianity in particular, I think the indoctrination aspect of it really kind of started with, of course, the Catholic Church. I mean, if you look at the history of that, people weren't even literate, let alone had the Bible in a language that they could read. So it was all in Latin, of course. So the pastors and the monks and the Pope were the only ones that could read it. And you essentially had to take their word for it. So people would go their whole life from babies to grown up, then they would never read the Bible for themselves. They just had to trust that the pastor said what it said. And that's what their belief came from. So that's really where the indoctrination started. And today, it's people baptize their babies. I was baptized as a baby. You were told as a Christian, you're a Christian before you even know or have a concept of what Christianity is. People bring their babies to church. It's people don't wait till their kids are 18 to start telling them that this is like God exists and he had a son named Jesus. It's from birth essentially.
David, you were a Catholic, weren't you?
It's Mike.
Sorry,
his name is Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
Oh,
were you a Catholic?
No, I was a Lutheran.
You were a Lutheran. Okay. I was just curious.
Yep.
Yeah,
my father's side was Catholic, so I know a little bit about it. I attended some masses, but only very infrequently.
They weren't even allowed to read the Bible till what, late 50s? I mean,
something like that. Yeah.
But here's where I also have a problem with that
leadership.
too, because like I'm raising my kids in church. Church, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I'm definitely don't consider what I'm doing with them indoctrination. And I have told my kids, I have sat them down and looked them dead in the eye and said, listen, I can teach you all this stuff about the Bible. I can teach you about God. I can give you my experience with God. I was like, but someday you are going to have to make your own decision to follow Christ. It's going to have nothing to do with me, And so
that's good.
Yeah,
That's
it's giving them their own decision.
I'm
not gonna disown them if they decided not to, because I mean it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what Larry does. It doesn't matter what Mark does or what I do. All of our kids are gonna have to make their own decision someday. They're their own people. So, yeah, but I don't know. I guess I've lost it where Christianity was like a bad thing to teach kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so
you think it is. You think it is. I'm not going to beat you up for it, but you think it's a bad thing to teach kids, don't you?
Yeah, just from just the sin doctrine in general, which is, I'm going to speak in a lot of generalities here.
What's that?
Course,
What's that? The
sin doctrine. Sin doctrine would be
gotcha.
Like anything that Adam and Eve committed the first sin, and that brought us into a fallen world, and now everything that bad happens because of sin, the original sin, and we're all essentially cursed, and nobody can live a sin-free life because of that sin. So essentially, from when they're children, we're telling them that you are a sinner, you're going to, you deserve, I know not every denomination, like I said, but you deserve hell. The only reason you're not going to go there is because God came down and died on the cross for your sins. And that's, even if you haven't done anything, it's thought crimes. It's, essentially, if we go by the Old Testament, essentially just being a human is sinful. So you're telling your kids that essentially that they're bad, that they deserve hell. And I'm not saying you personally, but Christians, they're bad, they deserve hell. And if they don't believe in Jesus, that's where they're going to go because that's what they deserve because they're sinners. And I think if you tell somebody that that nobody can be without sin, that they're born sinners, that they're going to sin at some point in their life, it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you tell your kid you have no choice but to sin, then they have no choice but to sin. So,
but like we all have the choice not to sin, right? Like we all. What do you have to say to that, Larry? Or we all have the choice not to sin, right?
So somebody could be sinless. You could be completely sin-free.
I guess my question would be is like, we look at it as like a gift. Does that make sense? Like yep. God didn't have to bail us out of that. Like Adam and Eve made the choice, right? And we could all, like, here's the way I look at it. Like if I was Adam, I probably would have messed it up too. Like I probably would have picked the wrong fruit or whatever, however you want to say it. I probably would have messed it up too. I'm not going to sit here and beat up Adam for doing that. Right. But, we look at it like it's a gift, like we're thankful for it because we could pick up the Bible and the Bible say, hey, you guys, I created you guys couldn't really hack it. Thought about sending my son down, but decided not to. Have fun in hell. That's what it could have said, but instead it says, hey, he sent his only son to come down and die on a cross to forgive us. That way we can spend eternity for him, even though we didn't follow the rules. Like it's almost like a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chance type of thing for us. But then he throws us that anchor and then we still don't like it. You know what I mean? And I think that in itself proves how maybe crappy of a creation we are or a race we are, right?
Well, first off, I'm going to jump in here a second. Mike, how old are you?
Yep. 32.
32. Do you have kids?
I do. Yep. 2 boys, 7 and 4.
You send them to public school?
Yep.
Okay. Why?
Well, me and my wife both work, public school, and so we couldn't afford it, and we're middle class, so we can't afford a private school. Yeah. But the public school, I went through public school, I think is good for not only education, but also for socialization. So they learn how to be around kids their age. They deal with issues with their peers that you can't necessarily give them with the homeschooling experience. So, friendships, breakups, bullying, conflict resolution, things like that.
You mean all the things that we're going to have to handle as an adult in the world that keeps coming at us. More so, I do understand what you're saying, but what they teach in schools now isn't anything like I learned in the 60s and the 70s. Well, nothing. The stuff that I learned then, they don't even teach. I mean, I was taught geography, and one of my best friends sitting across the table from me doesn't know squat about geography because he wasn't taught.
No, because I hated it.
But where you keep saying one thing that catches my attention is you tend to lump all Christians into the same religious constraints as a unity of one based on your experience with the denomination that you grew up in. Because I never was raised, and I was raised Pentecostal. And from the time I was, little, I was raised that way. I never really saw it as a reason. I wasn't told that way. You're going to sin and you're going to go to hell. I wasn't given that.
Of course not. Yep.
I don't think we're told that here either, are we? Like, I don't think they're told that.
The wages of sin is death.
Yeah.
The Bible tells us that, but I mean,
It's kind of a roundabout way. I mean, it's like if what we believe is true, then they need to be known. It needs to be known. You know what I mean? Like it needs to be said. That's why I'm saying like we can sit here and act like this is all like we're like this things that we're teaching people and stuff is a bad thing, but it might be it might be true.
Well, going back to that, Mike, do your kids ask you why? I mean, when they were little, like I got grandkids, so I'm a lot older than you are.
A lot
older, like almost twice your age. Okay.
Sure.
So my question is, did your children ask you why growing up?
Why what?
Why anything?
Multiple subjects. You know, all the time.
Yeah, I mean, they're always asking why. Oh yeah, why? You know, why is this? Why that? Why this?
Right.
Yeah,
because the human mind always wants to know what the whys are. You know, why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? Why can a brown cow eat green grass and make white milk? I mean, I got asked all those types of questions. Right?
Yep.
And I never really saw it in the manner of, I mean, I give God credit for creating this planet. I have somebody that I can give glory to creating this planet. It's hard for me to comprehend somebody that chooses not to. But I mean, that is a choice, right? And if I chose to raise my kids where they didn't know, and technically speaking, I did not have anything to do with their religious upbringing. I was divorced, and so occasionally I took them to church when I got the opportunity. I guess I could say.
When you're done, I got a question for you and for Mike.
Okay.
After this, that I'm interested in.
But I'm asking because I wrote down something here that I wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. You help others deconstruct? That's your position on that?
Yeah. Helping or get the process moving, or try to at least attempt to.
Why is that necessary?
Well, I mean, for me personally, I think it's I'm happier now that I am deconstructed. There's less fear. You'll hear a lot of former believers say that they are better people now that they're deconstructed, and also any believer, whether you're, no matter the denomination, you're still supporting the Bible, which is where all the problems lie at the heart. So anything that's, and yes, not every denomination is the same. I understand that. I know you can, I see them on TikTok too. You can have a lesbian Christian pastor, and then you can have a, hardcore Southern Baptist fundamentalist.
So this is where we're interviewing someone with a completely different mindset than you, and that's where we're trying to understand his perspective.
That's why I'm asking this question.
He helps people deconstruct because he believes what you believe in is harmful. He believes it's harmful. He believes it's harmful to people. That's why this is like to be honest with you, Mike.
In a way, I agree that religion is harmful.
Yeah,
because it's the importance of a relationship with Christ that makes the difference.
The people that's the hardcore atheist, Mike, is the hardest for us to talk to and stay respectful in because it's literally the opposite of what we believe, the exact opposite. I mean, even witches and Satanists and all this, we can find some sort of common ground. But when we're having this conversation with you, it's very hard to find common ground. And that's why it gets so tense and so uncomfortable.
I was trying to be careful with the way I worded things.
You were doing great. I'm kind of explaining to him because everybody can feel the tension. Let's not be dumb. Right. Let's not be stupid. Anyway, that's what I'm saying is like that he believes that Christianity is harmful. And so he helps people remove from that.
There's a difference between Christianity and religion.
Mark, go ahead.
I have a question. This is something that occurred to me last week. And it's something that I've noticed as a trend with many, I would say 70% of the non-believers or deconstructionists that we talk to is that they were believers. Something happened, and then they're not believers anymore. Many of them come out of Catholicism. I'm not saying Catholicism is wrong.
But also, like, notice this. Like, I don't know anything about Lutheranism, but I don't want to say this, but it's either Catholicism, Mormonism, Latter-day Saints, Seventh-day Adventists. Like, it's one of those, and I don't know enough about any of that stuff, but it's always like the other than Christian.
So go ahead.
So I'm identifying. I'm identifying with you in one way because I came from one of the named religions that we just named, and I got church hurt. I noticed hypocrisy within that system of beliefs that offended me. Having my hard time wrapping my head around some of the tenets that were being taught, but never did I ever come to a point. I walked away from all of that. I went and followed what Mark wanted to do, and it took me a lot of places that I'm lucky I came back from. But during that whole process, I couldn't. The dividing line of me saying there is no God, and I always knew there was a God. I just knew I was out of alignment with His will.
Were you ever close, you think, to giving it up completely?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I always knew, but I was definitely close with giving it up to what those people told me He was.
So what you're asking him basically, Mark, is do you think it's possible that he has received a false gospel and that's what's made him depart from it?
No,
Is that what
the Holy Spirit kind of talked to me a couple of weeks ago. It's about some unresolved unforgiveness I had in my heart from being hurt, and how it's blocked me from connecting with God's people for 30 years. It blocked me. It wasn't until I let all that go and realized it. It's the way he's going. He's apostolizing the complete deconstruction of people's faith to free them. I'm just wondering, what's your name? Mike?
Mike.
I'm just wondering.
Yep.
I'm just wondering, Mike, is there something? And I know this is getting really deep, but is there something? The Holy Spirit told me to ask one of you during this podcast, is there something you need to forgive religion for? Man, maybe, instead of God? Maybe you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. My mom always told me, she said, the church is made up of a bunch of sick people. If you look at the people, you're in trouble. You got to keep your eyes on the one. So I'm curious about that. Was there a moment where you were like, man, that really hurt? That doesn't make sense to me at all. I mean, did you have the experience, or was that not your experience at all?
So I guess I'll kind of tell you what led me to this. I guess I was, like I said, I was baptized Christian, Lutheran. Mom, very religious, still is.
Mm-hmm.
Whether she actually lives it in her life is another question, but always went to church every Sunday. And I actually enjoyed church. When I was a kid, I've always sung along to songs. Even now, I'm in the car and the radio's playing, I'm singing along. So I'd get, the compliments from the nice old ladies around me. Oh, your son can sit behind me anytime. And then I, became an acolyte and, did that, went through catechism, we did Monday school, which was after school. So it's Sunday school on Monday, but it was after school. So did that. But there were things that just never sat right with me, namely being that anyone who's not Christian is going to hell, essentially, is what, not necessarily my preacher, but that's essentially what my mom had said. And that just didn't sit right with me. I couldn't believe that, a nice Hindu father, who loves his kids and loves his family and, pets the dog every day is going to burn in hell just because he happened to grow up in India, where whether he heard of Jesus or not, it'd be just like you hearing about Shiva, like you're just going to shrug it off. That's, that's just what those people over there believe. It's not what I was taught to believe. So I just could never wrap my mind around that aspect. So I just, at first I started, okay, God still exists, but there's no way that he could possibly send people to hell just for not being a Christian. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. And that just kind of led me to, and then when I did get a little bit older, and actually my mom taking me to see the Martin Luther movie, which if you guys know anything about Lutherans, that came from Martin Luther, who was the first Protestant who went and nailed the theses on the basilica or whatever it was, and he was the one to start the Protestant Reformation or kicked it off.
Right.
So we went to see that movie, which was like a biography, and that's where I kind of started to see, okay, so the church had all these things that they were doing that were wrong or not biblical, and then that made me want to research, okay, well, where did the Bible come from? And then you learn that the Catholic Church essentially put it together through all these councils, and it was selected from all these other writings around the time, and been changed and edited over time. So then, I wanted to read the Bible for myself and see what was really in there. So when I was younger, I did that. And, after reading the Bible, it's just like there was no way that this could have been put together by some divine being with omniscience that could see into the future. And, with everything that's in there, just, I'm sure you guys have heard it from a lot of atheists, but, all the things in there that we would not consider morally right today.
Can I say I still struggle with that, and there's no caveats or buts to the end of this, but your friend Dustin, man, like one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Good heart. Yeah. I can tell he's just a great dude. And I've gotten, and I don't know him that well, but I feel like we've gotten to know each other because I watch I don't know if he's not posting or if TikTok. I noticed that yesterday. I was like, they're not showing me any of Dustin's videos anymore for some reason.
He hasn't been posting as frequently, and thinking about taking a break because he's at a standstill with the numbers, so he's getting a little bit disheartened. Well,
I actually have too. I've been on like a 2-week hiatus too, just because it's so tiring. It's exhausting sometimes, but so I have an issue with that, man, too, where I'm like, man, I don't know why God would do this, send someone like Dustin to hell, right. It bothers me. It bothers me. I've said it openly on the show before, so it's not like new, but also like, I also look at the fact that there could be maybe there is a but to this. Maybe I lied, but I do have like I do have an alternate viewpoint, is because like, I know that there's an enemy. Like I told Dustin this, there's something that doesn't want me to be a Christian. There's for sure something in the spiritual world that does not want me to be a Christian, that I feel like I would get that peace that you talk about, that you have now that you're not a Christian. I feel like I could achieve that, but that's not comforting to me. That's not comforting to me. Okay. And the reason why that's not comforting to me is because I feel like the thing that wants me to do that has an evil intention for me once I achieve that peace here on earth. Because the peace that I want is in heaven. And that's for more of an eternal thing. And if what the Bible says is true, then undoubtedly we have an enemy, which I don't blame the guy for my mistakes and stuff like that, like most Christians do. Be like, well, that dang devil made me kick my dog after work. I don't do that at all. I take full accountability for my actions. But I really do think there's an enemy out there. There's something in the spiritual world that doesn't want me to be Christian. And I feel like it would leave me alone if I stopped. And that concerns me. Does that make sense to you?
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I don't believe in any kind of spiritual realm or anything like that. But to your point, let's say hypothetically that Satan or whatever, the devil, is out there deceiving people. Well, if he is more powerful than us, if he's smarter than us, if he knows exactly how to get under our skin or say the right things or put the right things in front of us to make us not believe, and we are deceived into not believing, is that worthy or worth? Is it just to punish somebody? If I lied to you and said, hey, if you walk through this door, you're gonna be it's gonna be a room full of sunshine and ponies, and you walk through it and it's a torture chamber. Is it your fault that you walked through the door? No, yeah, I lied to you. Essentially. But
let me say, in the Bible, God tells us how to defeat the wiles of the enemy or whatever. It tells us how to do it. It literally gives us an instruction book of how to not be deceived by the enemy. And so we know how to do it. We just don't always do it because we want to fulfill the desires of our flesh, like what Larry was talking about earlier. And so sometimes we get deceived by our own flesh.
I'm hearing Mike talk about what I talked about last time. I think maybe privately, I don't remember if we did this in the podcast. Yeah, we did. But the religious construct of hell has divided a large amount of people.
Yeah.
The idea of people being able to rationally comprehend a loving God that would eternally torment for any reason. And I don't know what the answer to that is. I know that a lot of religions have constructed that. I know that there is reference to that stuff in the Bible. I know that I have my own core set of beliefs, but it is one of the threads that I see from, people like Mike.
It's a hang up for sure. Like,
and it is I get that.
It's coming from a good place. It's not like,
it's
Mike's like
a good place.
Mike, like you said,
Mike's saying I would never do that to one of my children.
Yeah. He's saying he's seeing a nice Hindu dad that, pets dogs and is really nice to his family. And because he was born in the wrong place. But I believe God's fair though too. Like I believe he's completely fair. Just like how there was a lot of people that died before Jesus died on the cross.
But there's an answer to that. Because God is fair, when he did die on the cross, Jesus went back to all those people. They were given the opportunity.
Yeah. It said that God waited to judge everyone who had died pre-Jesus. God waited to judge them. It says that in the book of Romans. And I read that when I was doing my Bible study. I was like, oh, and it proves that I think if that's true, that people do die with no testimony of Christ whatsoever, I believe God's fair. He's not just, I don't think God sends people to hell just because they didn't know. I just don't think he's like that,
Well, and on that same note, let's say, of course, and I'm sure you've also read in Romans that everybody has to give an account of their life to God, So if I die and God does exist and he says, why didn't you believe? And I say, well, this was what I was told was your word, and there's all this stuff in there that I could not morally wrap my head around you putting in a book. Is he going to be like, well, I don't understand your position at all. Slavery is good. Killing children is good. I don't know what you're talking about. So off to hell with you, or is he going to be more like, well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It isn't right to kill children. It isn't right to have slaves. So I understand why you wouldn't believe that I would have put that in a book, because I wouldn't put that in a book. What is it going to be?
But what if you had mistaken views about those things? Like you were mistaken about it, and those
pretty
views,
clear.
And those views were wrong. I mean, would you take accountability for it then?
Well, but it would have to be like it'd have to be that, that was completely wrong, that he didn't actually put that in there, because the Bible spells it out pretty clearly. Your slaves are to come from nations around you. They're your property. You can beat them as long as they don't die within a couple days, or within, as long as they don't die immediately, as long as they go on a day or two, then you shouldn't be punished, because they're your money, or they're your silver, or they're your property. And you got God commanding, was it Saul in 1 Samuel 15, go and put everybody to the sword, men, children, suckling babies, all that stuff is pretty black and white in the Bible as quoted from God. So it would have to be him saying, I never said that. Those people made that up for their own thing,
So Mike, it's the sins of God that you're most offended by. You perceive his sins, his incongruity.
Well, that, yeah, and the fact that he's supposed to be, an all-loving God, and also the fact that evil exists in the world. Children are born with horrible birth defects that cause them pain. Children are, unfortunately, sexually assaulted all the time, tortured, killed. I just can't see those things existing in a universe that also contains a good God that intervenes on human affairs.
Okay. I get that. So I'm right there with you, deconstructing that. See, I also, and this doesn't have to be your belief, it's just my belief. Because of what I went through in my life, I deconstructed. I just walked away from my relationship with God. And what was left was this giant hole. And I couldn't find anything to fill it. I didn't have any final resolution to my problems. And I believe that we're encoded by our Creator genetically to have that hole. That's where so much of the beauty and then the sickness of the world comes in. The beauty is finding that thing and the things that are born out of that, called the fruits of the Spirit. And then the sickness is not finding that thing and shoving everything you can into that hole. Envy, lying, cheating, sexual immorality, drug addictions, all of that. So what's you said you're much more at peace now. Talk to me about that peace. What's your final solution? Where do you don't ever feel that? Do you talk? See, I'm in internal constant conversation with God. Do you talk to yourself? Is there anything that's overwhelming to you that you have to give up? What's your process for doing that? Or is it just there's no God and we're spinning on a little globe in the middle of nothing going nowhere? I'm just curious because I can't, because you and me have such completely different, and you say you're at peace with it. I never could find peace without a relationship with God.
Sure. So, I mean, when you zoom out that far, it can seem nihilistic. We happen to happen on this rock, and some part of the universe that's bigger than anybody can comprehend. And if there's nothing besides this, then it does seem like life is all for nothing. But that what I find from that is if we're not given a meaning by something, then that lets us create our own meaning. So I'm an atheist. That tells you what I don't believe, but I'm also a secular humanist. So that essentially just means that I believe in humanity. I believe that everything that we've done, everything that we've accomplished, all of our morals that we've found, unfortunately through a lot of trial and error, but the moral system that we have now, we did that. And then, we do, for whatever reason, enjoy the experience of life. We enjoy waking up every day and loving our friends and family and, seeing the world and gazing out at the world. And, if there is a purpose, or the purpose of my life, I guess that I found is to make the world a better place for the future generations, whether that's my kids that I take care of them, I raise them right according to, what I think is right. And, they go on to be happy, loving people, fingers crossed, and they continue that like a butterfly effect, and then love spreads and hopefully, there's less and less. And I do think the world has gotten better and better over over millennia. And I, hope to continue that incline to the point where maybe in the future there won't be as much suffering, or we'll have eliminated, as much suffering as we possibly can, to the point where everybody gets to enjoy their life, where you don't have people in third world countries that are,
how do you see the
risk
world
of starving to death every day?
Because I guess I don't see the world as getting better.
Yeah, I see it getting worse.
How do you see the world getting better? I'm interested in your viewpoint on that.
Sure. So, I mean, as far as we can reference the Bible and see what, I do think the Bible has some worthwhile documentation of like historical events. But as you can see, and even in the Bible, people, and we know from world history that essentially humanity started out as warring tribes. That's what we were doing. Somebody got too close or wanted their land, we'd go to war, kill them, enslave them. And, of course, slavery was a thing for millennia up until, the last 1,000 years or so, when we started to get, well, not even that, 500 years till we got that figured out. There's less wars. People used to go to, gladiator arenas and watch people chop each other's heads off with swords. used to take your kids to the public hanging at the town square. And this stuff is recent that happened. And of course, like stonings, you can read about what people were stoned for in the Bible, which seems like petty things, like being a glutton and a drunkard. You'd get stoned. Of course, with the church history, you were a heretic and burned at the stake for even saying that maybe the moon is a solid object, or that the sun, or that the earth is in the center of the universe. And just the amount of wars as far as that goes, it seems like for all of human history, we've been constantly at war, whether it was world wars or the holy wars, or the Mongol troops invading, or everything like that. It just, and plus with vaccines and medicine, people are living longer and healthier. We have our child mortality rate is way down from when it used to be. I think used to be something crazy like
40%, wasn't it?
7.
It was
40%.
It was like wasn't it like in the old Western days? I don't know what year that was. Wasn't it like in the 40% or something like 40% of children born would die or something like that?
Yeah, and
because of disease,
or not make it to like age 16. Yeah. So between all that stuff, I mean, it just seems
crazy.
Like we are living in the most peaceful, prosperous, and healthy time for all people. Of course, there are always kings that live better than most of us do today, but for the vast majority of people, we're not peasants slaving away in the fields either.
Well, that makes sense. Thank you for sharing your viewpoint on that.
The United States is
sense.
responsible for that. It's called the 5,000-year leap.
Yeah.
What he's referring to.
I want to go back because Mark asked a question about peace, and I don't feel like you ever got to that specific portion of the question. Do you have true peace? Like, you don't worry about there being a creator or anything at all ever? You truly experience peace.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I still question, or I still I still have those thoughts, like, what is the purpose of all this? What is is there a purpose to all of it? So I still have that question. But the peace comes with, not having to be sorry for being a human, not thinking I have to get down on my knees, every night and ask for forgiveness for the thoughts that I had that day, or having to think that, the Muslim guy that works at the corner store who's nice to me every day is going to burn in hell because he has essentially been deceived into the wrong religion, or I don't have to. There's not anything to blame either, because if you're going to credit God for giving you a healthy birth or a healthy child, then you also implicate him when that doesn't go that way. So it's like, if God gave somebody a healthy child, then he didn't do that for somebody that has a child with a disability, or a child with a birth defect that causes them not to be able to function the same way as other people. So I'm not blaming or constantly asking why God, why would you do this to people? Or when you hear about these horrible stories of kids getting tortured, it's like, how can you let this happen? It's a torture to think, how could a God let this happen? But
here's what I'm hearing from you. Here's what I'm hearing.
Sure.
Like, I'm hearing that you don't have true peace, but at least you don't have to worry about those particular things anymore. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's peace in the sense that
being a human's hard.
Yeah, it is for sure. And it's not like a comforting thought that when I die, nothing is going to happen. But I'm also thinking about before I was born. I wasn't aware of anything. You didn't have a thought process. You weren't sitting there waiting for, according to the Bible, 6,000 years for us to be born. It was just nothingness.
Do you know who Louis C.K. is?
Yeah. Yep.
Have you seen that bit he does about, because Louis C.K. is an atheist. He's a comedian.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen that bit he does about hoping there's not a God?
I don't think so.
You'll have to look it up.
Where he comes back and looks at Earth and goes, "What did you do?"
Louis C.K. said, I said something like, I'm an atheist and I believe there's no God. And he goes, God, I hope there's no God.
Remember him saying, "Oh, please let there not be."
Oh, God, please let there be no God. Because, he's an atheist, and that would be pretty scary if there wasn't a God, And I don't know.
Right.
I have a view. I've been thinking a lot about this whole peace thing lately. And I want to share my perspective because the Bible has a couple different views on like peace, right? And Larry, I for sure believe has true peace, 100%, in the Lord. I believe that because the answer for him is always the Lord, no matter what. And I truly believe that he has true peace. But I don't believe that every Christian does, right? Because there's this concept, and I believe I'm fully living in it right now in Christianity. And basically what it is God says that you have to pick two different pathways, right? And then one of the pathways is very broad. And basically you could be 3 sheets to the wind drunk and walk on it, and you're not going to walk off the sides. That's the road without God. But it also states the road with God is very narrow. It's very hard to walk on. It's got many twists. It's got many turns. It's got a bunch of different pathways onto it. And basically,
obstacles.
You've got to watch your feet the whole time to make sure you don't fall off that path, that you're walking on that path at all times until you reach the finish line. And I know I'm walking that path. And to me, there's not much peace in that. Does that make sense? I think as a Christian, you're supposed to be able to walk on that path. And the peace is that there's alligators and everything else jumping out trying to bite you while you're on that path. But the peace is that God's always there to make sure that you don't fall right. That's where the peace comes in at. I just don't think I've learned how to implement God into that situation to where I'm walking this path thinking it's just me walking the path, and then I don't implement. That's where I maybe lose that peace. But to me, I've been thinking a lot about that lately because, as I said earlier, he says he finds that peace in atheism and stuff like that. And there's something that's trying to pull me off that narrow path, like I said earlier. And to me, the narrow path isn't very peaceful. What's your perspective on that, Mark?
Peace is, for me, is just directly proportioned to my surrender.
Yeah.
And that was the thing for me. I think that all children go through a time of rebellion. They learn from their father. They're instructed. They're told. They're disciplined. Then they think that they have enough information to make the decisions on themselves, and they usually judge their father. And this is my story anyway. And then I rebelled, and I had no peace, none. And it wasn't until I came back into alignment and submitted. Whenever I say yes to God, I get peace. It's the argument in the no, and you know.
Do you still say no to God sometimes, or is pretty much?
Yeah, I still say no.
Okay.
Sometimes, you know, Larry asked me to go to a Bible study, and I told him no. I said,
No,
"You'd
you
have
could
me go to church 7 days a week."
I want to say something, Larry. I want to say something about Larry. It's okay to tell Larry no sometimes.
Right. I know. I read a book on Christian boundaries. It's okay to have boundaries. Yeah. It's okay to say no. Larry knows this. That's
Larry's boundaries are like this.
I didn't know.
No, he just invites.
I didn't condemn him.
No, he just invites.
He doesn't.
He said, no, I don't feel like it tonight. And I said, okay,
right.
I'll see you later.
Okay, it's fine. God's not going to be mad at you for very long.
But that's what people like Mike have heard all their life. That's what they say that all of us sound like.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
Right.
I invite people to church all the time.
Mike, do you see a way back to Christianity, or I don't even want to say that. Do you see a way back to God ever?
I mean, he'd have to do a lot of explaining, I guess. And that's the thing. It's like, I just can't rationalize a good God existing. Could a God exist, or a creator that doesn't have anything to do with human affairs? Could there be something, you know, you hear the apologists argue for like a first cause or a necessary being, and it's like, could that exist? Sure, but I just don't see, getting to heaven or something like that, or meeting God and having him, the ability to intervene, but didn't. And could I believe a God existed? Yes. Would I turn my life over to him and start worshiping him or it? That would take a lot of explaining and a lot of a lot of rationalizing, I guess, or a lot of I don't know. I'd have to.
Explaining.
Hey
from
man,
who?
hey man, they do a lot of that in church. Why don't you come on over and put your feet in, buddy? We'll help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have actually had we've had a pagan witch come to this church that we've interviewed before. Atheists. I mean,
By the way, hey Jess.
yeah, if she still watches. But yeah, so if you ever decide to come to church, I mean, I'd at least take you to dinner afterwards. So.
Well, I appreciate that.
We all would.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, yeah. There's apologist ways to get out of it. There's things that you can read around in the Bible. Of course, there's contradictions, but there's no erasing it at this point that I can see.
Fair enough.
So it's people will say that you went to the wrong church or you were part of the wrong denomination. But it's all the same Bible essentially. So
I don't know
where the problem.
I'm not going to offer an answer to that.
No.
Here's what I do know. We've interviewed almost.
Jesus read the King James version.
Right. Yeah, sure he did. So here's the conversation me and Mike had earlier about the whole denomination thing. It's just something that me and him are kind of looking at each other, and I guarantee we won't even talk about it whenever we leave here. Every talk that we have about the show is like right here because we want it to be authentic. But no, we do have some off. Very rarely we do, but we do have some discussions off. But.
Mostly we just make fun of everybody's way of dressing outside the church.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. By the way, very boring visor today.
Sure.
Very boring.
Yes,
It is. You think so too? Okay.
This is a wife.
I have
All
a
right.
question.
This is a wife.
But hold on, let me finish this real quick
Okay.
before Andrew, you get to yours. And then we're gonna do our rounds, and I'll let you answer the question there. Okay. So me and Mark just kind of noticed over the last almost 50 episodes or whatever is that most of the people that don't believe in God any longer that we talk to didn't really come from just like a traditional Christian upbringing. It's either been Catholic. I don't know what a Lutheran is, but is that traditional?
It's close to the Catholicism. They still practice a lot of the same religious tenets, don't they, Mike?
So basically, we Lutherans, they don't acknowledge the holiness of Mary. They don't acknowledge saints and as being like a holy or something you could pray to.
Oh, good.
We don't do like penance. We don't have crucifixes because they worship the risen Lord. They would consider a crucifix an idol because it's Jesus isn't the dead man on the cross. He's the risen Lord. But you won't see any crucifixes or anything like that in the Lutheran house or Lutheran church.
Maybe some fish,
but
not.
Yeah. Crosses for sure, but not the actual crucifix.
So
but
you don't have a problem.
Similar.
You don't have a problem with Lutheranism then, in particular. I mean, you probably do, but like any more so than other religions.
Other Christian.
Other
Well,
Christianity,
no.
yeah.
I mean, it's one of the more benevolent ones, I would say. Or
Lutheranism
one of
is?
the more, yeah. I mean, you still have some evangelical Lutherans, but from my experience, it's more like the church crowd that goes on Sunday, and then goes out to breakfast afterwards, and they don't see each other again until next Sunday.
Gotcha. Okay, let me get to this because we're at 1:34. We're actually running a little late. So what we do at the end of every show is we go around the room and we say something in parting, and then because you're our guest, you'll get the final say at the end of the show. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go around the room. Make it quick though this time, guys, because we're running just a little late. And by quick, Larry, Larry seems like he's got a long one, so let's give Larry a long one this time. He didn't talk that much this episode, so okay, Mark, go ahead.
Okay. I helped some people in recovery, Mike, and I appreciate what you shared. I deal with a lot of people, and where some of the tenets, one of them is that you have to have a relationship with a power greater than yourself. And I see a lot of people that are completely powerless in their lives because they've been hurt, and then they've set themselves to judge God. Judge God by the actions of what man, under the guise of God, with authority and permission from God, in other words, religion, man is grouped together and done. all the hypocrisy, the pain, the misery, and then judging God himself. How can you make one baby this way and you not show up for the other baby there? What about the women in Israel being raped right now? And so I get that. I get the temptation. In fact, I've been there. And I guess for me, just one thing that just kept occurring to me over and over again was, for me, and you can do whatever you want. We're not changing each other's minds here. We're just talking. I had to get right sized. And I guess that's what you've done is you believe that there is no hierarchy. To me, I can't, he created the game, the whole system. It's not my place to judge him. In the end, it's my place to have a relationship and try to submit the best I can to his will for me, which luckily is not the Old Testament will. It's only 2 commands: love thy God with all thy heart, all thy mind, and all thy soul, and all thy strength, and love thy neighbor as thyself. That's it. And that's what God instructs me to do. And, Christ himself said, my yoke is, my burden is light. And if you do those things, then, you don't really have much to worry about. Anyway, I just wanted to say I identify. I've been actually standing right where you've stand as far as some of the intellectual conclusions that you've come to. So it's been really interesting talking to you.
Okay, Angela, I had a question.
So my question is you said you had kids. So what if one day your kid comes to you and really wants to know about God and does it want to believe the things that you believe? What is your advice to your child about that? And how would you proceed with showing them the true God?
Well, I'm not going to be, shy about my beliefs either. Just like you guys, would tell them that this is God. I'm going to say, as far as, we can tell, nobody has proved that, God exists. A lot of people have a lot of different beliefs about it. If you feel like you want to pursue any of them, you're welcome to look into it. I'll be here if you have any questions, but, just make sure you get both sides of the story, not listen to just, theologians and not just atheists or anti-religion people. But yeah, of course, I'm not going to that's a big problem I have with religion too, with, and it's not every denomination again, but a lot of them out there, whether it's Amish or Mormons, or they'll disown their children because they left the religion. I would never, that's part of the harm that I see in it. And I would never do that because, my kid could become a Christian and I would, whatever, Islam, he could join, be a Muslim. I'm not going to not consider him my child anymore. But, of course, I'm going to give him my perspective as well, just like any other parent would.
There you go. Okay. Angela, was that it? Okay. Larry.
Along that same line, Mike, what would you do if they came to you and said they wanted to practice witchcraft or maybe paganism?
I don't know enough about those. My thing is, as long as they're not hurting anybody, as long as they're not hurting themselves or hurting others, then they should really be able to do what they want.
If you want to learn something about witchcraft, we have about, what would you say, 25 episodes on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even Satanism, at what point do you decide that your child does
that's
not,
enough. Yeah.
At what point do you decide that your child should not be allowed to exercise free will?
Yeah, is there a line there? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think I just said, like when they're causing suffering to other people. Satanism first is a label for an atheist organization. So you could be a member of the Church of Satan, and most of them are atheists. So probably talking about like an actual devil worshiper.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if they're actively seeking out to sacrifice children to the devil, then I would definitely recommend some mental health, some wellness checkups and stuff like that. But as far as if they want to sit in the room and think they're casting spells, I don't think it does anything. So I'm not going to worry about it. If they're if they're trying to invite a demon, I guess I don't believe that stuff exists. So what are they hurting by doing that? I don't think anything's going to happen. So,
but if they're killing babies, then we got to draw the line there.
Right. Yeah, of course. And if like I said, if they're bullying or anything like that, where they're causing other people to suffer, or, you know, even if they're, I guess, trying to promote these things that, you know, would cause suffering, I guess, like if they're out there joining a KKK rally, then I'm going to, you know, obviously voice a more vocal opinion about that. I'm not going to physically stop them. You know, obviously, like, I'm not going to force them or tie them down or tie them up in their room or lock them in their room and make sure that they never see anything outside of their room. But, you know, I don't, you know, it's not really a thing that I'm that concerned about at this point. They seem like pretty good kids. So,
well, the second question would be, did you serve in the military?
Did not.
Okay. The reason that I ask you is because we do that for our rights in this country so that our freedoms in this country can still be exercised. Unfortunately, a lot of guys give up their life for that. Another way of that is, you know, we served so that you could have the freedoms to tell us how wrong we actually are, you know, and we have to sit there and take it. That's one thing. The other thing is, you know, that's how God kind of put this thing together. He gave us free will. And at the same time, I'm not here to convince you to become a Christian. I'm just here to love on you no matter what. No matter what your opinion
Appreciate
is,
that.
no matter what your thought process is, I'm still to love you. For you. And that's exercising my free will. My free will says that I'm going to follow after the Father because I've been far enough away from him that I stood in no light. And now I am in the light. I don't have to convince you of it. That's God's job. It's not my place. I typically read a couple of verses, and I found in 1 Peter 1. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm waiting for someone to say no, and then
Yeah,
I'm
no.
just going to be like, you're going to have to read it anyway. The
Well,
listeners
I
are
got
gonna
free
hear it.
will, and I served in the military, so I got the right.
Yeah. Or we should say
meant that-
earmuffs.
I meant that in humor. Okay?
Like, what's that show? Earmuffs that, Old School. The movie Old School. Earmuffs. And they told the kid to put earmuffs on. when they
earmuffs.
came.
Yeah. Okay. 1 Peter 1:24. For all men are like grass, and all their glory is like the flower in the field. The grass withers, and the flowers fall, but the word of the Lord stands forever. And this is the word that was preached to you.
Yes, it was.
Now in 1 Peter
1:24.
2nd,
Oh, sorry. Oh, you're going on. Sorry.
1 Peter 2:7. Now to you who believe, this stone is precious, but to those who do not believe, the stone the builders rejected has become the capstone, and the stone that causes men to stumble, and a rock that makes them fall. They will stumble because they disobeyed the message, which is also what they were destined for. Sometimes reading these gives me, a sadness. I don't want to say that I have all the answers. I really don't. I do know for Zach, Lutheran was the first derivative one step down from Catholic. Martin Luther is actually what Lutheran is about. Okay, he stepped away from the Catholic Church because he didn't believe in a lot of this stuff they did. He mentioned, you mentioned Mike on Catholic Church, reading to them, and they had the advantage because they knew how to read. Mankind has done that from the get-go. The ones that make the rules are the ones that overrun everybody. We act like slavery has been abolished 150 years ago when the Civil War was here. That started in America. It took the other parts of the world to catch up with us. We started the freedom from that particular type of slavery. Yet we stand as slaves to our government. I prefer to be a slave to God. That's who my master is. But I appreciate you coming on, brother. Thank you very much for listening.
Appreciate it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be quick. I noticed something today because we've interviewed. I'd say we're relatively experienced in this now. Almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
We've done over. What is this, Larry? Is this 48? 48 interviews?
Yes.
48. You're our 48th interview, and I noticed something as clear as a bell today. That it's never more tense than when we have an atheist on here. That's when it gets the most tense. And that's so strange to me because if you were to think about this when we first started, you'd think that like a Satanist or a witch or someone like that, where the Bible completely calls out that stuff, you know, and somebody that's basically serving our enemy per se. They're literally worshiping our enemy. And far more tense with atheism. And that's just, I don't really have a point or anywhere I'm going with that, but I just noticed that today, and I think it's worth looking into. And I think maybe it is because like he really is, and it's hard to have a civil conversation with someone that is against everything that you believe in.
Yeah, but there's a difference between not believing and helping others not believe.
Right.
There's a difference there.
And you get offended by it. You don't like that at all.
Of course I don't. But at the same time, I'm not here to judge him. And I battle my flesh just like everybody else out here. Yeah. I battle my flesh to the point that I make it submit to me, to the will of my Father.
It's almost like you feel like he's attacking your God, right? But like, Mike, you don't view it as that, right? Like you're not going. Are you going after God, or are you going after us? Like,
no, I don't believe a God exists. So
you don't believe. Are you going after us? Like, do you wish?
No.
I'm going to ask you. I haven't asked this in a while. Would you, if there was a petition to abolish Christianity, would you sign it?
No.
That was quick.
No, and I'm not going after. Because then that's just a slippery slope. Then who decides what people can learn about or practice or whatever? I mean, it's just a slippery slope. Could I sign something that says maybe, you know, don't push it on kids until they're, you know, of a certain age that they can make a decision whether or not? That might be something, but abolished completely, no. But no, I'm not, and that's my thing. That's why I'm a humanist. I love people. I love, you know, I want to. That's why I like doing this. I like having those conversations. I like listening to people. I think you guys are probably great guys. I mean, whether it's on the podcast is what you portray in real life. I'm sure it is. I'm sure you're genuine. I would have any problem going to grab a beer or dinner with any one of you? No. Could we have a good conversation about things that don't relate to religion at all? Probably. You know, so I think people have a lot more in common than we have not in common.
Yeah.
And religion kind of blinds us to that, where we're told that they're the other and that we're so different than them and that they believe something completely different and they're completely wrong. Whereas, you know, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu, a Confucianist, or anything like that, mostly we just want to be happy. We want to be taken care of. We want, to be loved by other people. We want to, you know, most people want to have a family and kids, and we want to raise them right so that they're happy. We want to protect them. We don't want them to get hurt. Most of us don't want to hurt other people. So it's that. I mean, and that's what I think. Whether it's, you know, I don't think most Christians are doing it or are intentionally causing suffering. And I don't think that they're doing it with a malicious intent or anything like that. It was just like, I know that you aren't trying to evangelize or convert people to Christianity because you want them to be hurt or suffer. I think you think you're doing a good thing. And I'm doing the same thing for the exact same reason. I think I am doing a good thing, you know? So I think I'm helping people the same way you are.
We genuinely believe it's true. That's why we're doing it. Like we genuinely, that it's not for our own personal gain. Like it's because we believe it's true.
But you don't want anybody to go to hell.
And if it is true, I think it's a big deal. I don't think you should blame us that we're doing it. If it really is true, then what we're doing is necessary, right? Wouldn't you say that?
If it's true.
If it's true, I mean, right? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, if it's true, it's critical, man. It's a big deal. Big. It's the biggest deal. Nobody's deal is bigger than this. I haven't done a Trump impression in a while.
It's huge.
Nobody has a bigger deal than this. I have the biggest deal. It's the biggest deal. Nobody has a deal like this. Not China, not Russia, Kim Jong-un. It's probably the biggest deal. I don't know. I've been working.
Pretty good.
I've been working on
Pretty
it.
good.
All right, man.
Got the
So
cadence down and everything.
we're at the end, and the floor is yours. Everybody said their thing. I want to say thank you for coming on, man. And anybody who's friends with Dustin's a friend of mine. And I got to say, you've been a real nice guy as well, just like him. So, and I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to have conversation like this. But with that being said, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, I guess I think I said most of what I wanted to say. We didn't get into the weeds all that much, but I guess I'd say I appreciate you guys giving us the platform. I think that's a big thing, is allowing, like you said, a lot of churches and stuff and believers will just shirk off an atheist or an unbeliever as somebody who's stupid or somebody who thinks that God exists, or they want to be worldly, or they want to live in their sin. So I'm also trying to break that stereotype. I'm not somebody that's out doing drugs and drinking, and I have a wife and kids and very loyal and love them very much. And I'm just like any Christian for the most part. If you met me on the street, you wouldn't know, that I was a Christian or an atheist. It's not. And I also don't think it's a conclusion that I didn't rationally arrive at through, years of research and thinking about these things and thinking about philosophy and thinking about psychology. So, and I guess, that's it. I mean, I don't think every religion is bad, but I do think just just at the core, believing in things that you don't have evidence for just opens that door. Because if you don't need evidence to believe something, well, then you can believe anything. So it's just an epistemology at the very core level, whether you believe in reincarnation or whether you believe in, witches or spirits or whatever you want to, or a higher power, or the energy or the vibrations of the universe. If you believing something that doesn't have evidence for, but you allow yourself to believe it anyways, that just opens the door. And that's just, like I said, that's why I say I'm an anti-theist, because I just don't, I just focus on Christianity. Of course, that's what I know the most about. It's what I came from. But I just think even, the Buddhist reincarnation thing can be harmful. One, you're giving, believing in something where there's no evidence for, but also like the reincarnation, if somebody's in a bad spot or they're a bad person, you think that they deserve that, as opposed to, just happenstance being born into those circumstances. So it eliminates your empathy for that person. If you think, somebody that's living in squalor deserves that because of what they did in a previous life, well, you're not going to have as much empathy as if you think, well, they probably had a rough time. They may have some issues going on. Let's see if we can help them, as opposed to write them off as being, that's what they deserve.
It would be really cool to believe, though, that someone that you really, really don't like comes back as like a frog with two legs right next to a snake's den, dude. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Admit it, Larry. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I did have one more question.
Okay,
I
Angela, one more
apologize.
question.
What is your wife's beliefs? Does she believe in the same thing you do, or is she what does she believe?
She's a little more open to like a guiding, she doesn't believe in Christianity. She's not a Christian. Doesn't believe in a God, but she's a little more on the sense of like
Spirituality.
She might wear a good luck crystal or something like that, or she might, so it's not. Yeah, it's not. She's not fully spiritual. She doesn't think it's going to make it she's not going to take a piece of rose quartz and think it's going to cure cancer. But she's open to like that there being some kind of deeper meaning to existence. But yeah, she's opposed to Christianity. She didn't have the same upbringing as me, so she's not as passionate about it, and she's just not as interested in the topic. So she doesn't know as much as I. So trying to talk to her about what happened and what the differences between the gospels, she's not gonna really care or know.
Fair.
So she doesn't take it that seriously. But she's also what I would consider her an agnostic, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that, Mike. I thank you again for coming on, man. And we're at 1:55, so we gotta buckle off here. We're gonna go over that 2 hour.
All right.
Thank you, man. And I'll this episode comes out next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep, you too.
There you go.
Mike is, I feel like I'm like 35 and just got done spending 4 hours at the local bar with a philosophy major.
Yeah.
Exhausted, worn out, a little dizzy.
Oh, I get that way every week.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. That's just me. I love him. Like I already said, I love him. He's an iconoclast. And that's his religion, it seems to me. And I'm not saying these in judgmental ways, but I was asking, what's your resolution to things? Where do you go? What's your hobby? And it's somewhere there's something. Mike, I hope you forgive whatever it is that's there. And really, I hope you forgive God. That's
you think there's some sort of resentment there towards the religion or God? Yeah,
towards God himself.
Gotcha.
I can detect it because I felt it in my own heart before. And unfortunately for me, the only resolution was I hadn't suffered enough.
We had
to suffer some pain before I came to the point of. But that's my story. Doesn't have to, like he said, it doesn't mean that he's off losing control of his life. He might have it all sold up. He's a humanist, man. He's a good guy. He opens doors for old women and helps people walk away from God and Christ and believes that religion is the evil. I guess I'm just trying to process out loud how that's a design for living that works.
That's the difference between the way you saw him and the way I saw him. Mm-hmm. The way you saw him is that way. Mm-hmm. The way I see it, because he actively deconstructs others.
Right.
He's actively going against God that way.
Right.
I mean, that's a serious accusation.
I guess why would you spend your time doing that if you just didn't believe?
Yeah, if you didn't care that there was a God, you don't believe that there is a God, you don't like religion, just stay the heck away from it.
Well, I guess I understand that he believes it's harmful, so he's held.
Why is it harmful?
Why does he believe it's harmful unless he was harmed?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's a bitterness, an underlying current, and this is what God has really been talking to me about through multiple sermons here. Is there's the dangers of bitterness, and it's a corroding thread, man. And he says all those things, but I would really wonder if there's not something deeper. It's a bitter part of his heart. And
I remember
that's what I meant by forgiving God.
It's been
letting go of that bitterness. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm just sitting here thinking, but it's been several months and months and months ago, 20 episodes or so ago. And I'm sure I've told you guys this, but I'll say it again. But there was a guy or girl that we interviewed, and like the day before the interview, before we interviewed this guy or girl, he or she was on. It was a he. I don't care. I'll even say his name. I don't care. I'm not going to, but I would. But I saw him talking about something big that happened to him in his life. And TikTok has this feature to where you can be scrolling through, and if you click on the live, your name will pop up that you're in his chat. But if you don't click on it, if you just stay on the front page, they won't be able to tell you're watching it.
You can watch it.
So I was sneaky. Sneaky, and I was watching it, and he was opening up about something big that had happened in his life. And I didn't get the nuts to bring it up during the interview, but it was huge. But
intestinal fortitude.
But there you go. I only have one in real life anyway, so like it just kind of matches with the whole saying. But anyway, so you know what I mean? But anyway, so I didn't get up the nuts to ask him about that or interject that into it, but I asked in a roundabout way about it, and he lied. Like I pretended like that didn't, just brushed it off. And I always wonder everyone we've interviewed since then, if there's something like that going on that they just brush off and then don't want to talk to us about it. Well, because technically you would have to address that. You have to address that. That is it. I don't care if you've had a kid that died, or if you've had a mom that died early, or if you've had a big disease.
You know what the most common one is?
You have to address that.
Right.
That does play. I don't care what you say. It does play a factor in your deconstruction. I don't care what you say. It may be subconscious.
That's right.
It has to. So you have to address that, but he didn't feel like addressing it. So he skirted around it.
I cannot tell you the countless amount of people. I mean, I know personally 15 that I've seen that have deconstructed a relationship with God and then sought help and tried to reestablish a relationship with God. And you have to face those things. You know, I mean, for me, that's what kept me on that side was I had elevated myself in prideful arrogance and judgmentality over God. I can't do that. That's a life that I'm just not made to live.
Yeah.
Maybe he is. I wasn't, but my life kept getting steadily. It was just a life of futility. That is what it ended up being, very futile.
Another thing that it might have been is the guy knew that we were going to hone in on that if he brought it up. Of course. And so he skirted around it for that reason. So I'm not saying that he knows that that's the reason why he deconstructed, but he knew that if we addressed it, that it would be a valid topic to talk about. So I've always wondered in episodes past when I'm talking to someone like Mike or Dustin or somebody like that, but Dustin opened up about his. Mm-hmm. Dustin laid it all out on the table, you know? And so, but he doesn't believe that had a factor in it. I'm thinking about now, probably did. Dustin was just very open about how he talked to God and said, hey, man, you know?
To me, in my head, if, and we've talked to buku people here, if a person was sexually molested inside the church, okay, which we've had several of those, and then took that, internalized it, was angry at God because their prayers weren't answered, okay?
Right.
I don't know why they had to go through that. I don't. I'm not saying we tend as humans to blame God because he is in control. But at the same time, everybody has free will. Mm-hmm. Okay? But when they take and they interject into somebody else's life and lead them further away from God, I believe they've done the same amount of damage as what was done to them.
You believe they're after that vengeance subconsciously?
I don't know how that plays out. What I'm saying is that they're doing the same as what was done to them.
Gotcha.
And I don't mean it.
I'm
not saying it's all
malicious. You're not saying it's malicious at all. Yeah.
I was sexually abused. Now I'm going to, now I don't believe that there's a God. I'm going to turn you away from God.
No, Larry, that's backed up.
Even though it's not sexual in nature, it's still messing with the psychological attributes of a person and controlling and manipulating. Same way that this happened.
That's backed up by research. Any person that's gone through trauma will keep many times reenacting that trauma, revisiting it subconsciously over and over again, trying to claim control over it. So they'll recreate the same sort of situation. So we're not saying
you're saying that's backed up.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't have knowledge of that.
Do you guys agree with the statement?
Just my opinion
I made earlier that when we interview atheists like that, it's far more tense than any other group of people that we.
Yes,
I felt the tension in me because it was me that I was trying to control, but I didn't realize that y'all were feeling the tension as well until you said something.
I saw the look on your face, and then I felt like I always feel like I was going to have to control it. And I don't know if you noticed me switch my mic off because that was God putting me like, hey,
in check.
There's the control.
Right.
I turned my mic off. I took my drink. I popped in a piece of gum and sat back, and I said, you got this.
Right.
And I was very proud of how you did that.
At the same time, when you first asked me for a comment, you said, and I just kind of went like this and bypassed it.
You said no, but I knew that wasn't the time.
You'll get this. My angel was
pulling
the reins of my mouth.
No, I could tell you were like, not right now.
Well,
I can't say anything right now.
How do you how do you be taught something that you wholeheartedly believe and then find somebody that stands completely against it and doesn't even believe any of it is real? And if it is real, that means you worship some kind of satanic sycophant. How do you, that's a very large gap to navigate.
I want to bring up
the tension does go up.
Yeah, I want to bring up this is the second time, and I don't know what this means at all. I don't even have an opinion on this at all, and maybe it's very simple, but where he started describing at the end there his Lutheran upbringing, he started saying, "No, we don't believe that. Like he was still in it."
Well, yeah,
and we had one other guy that was raised Mormon that said that same thing, that like he was still in it.
Right.
Professing atheist, but still like we actually don't believe that. What we believe in is, like he was still actively in it and he was like associated with him. He did that same thing, like he associated. And maybe it was just because he had been in it so long, maybe that's all it is, that he had been in it so long that he still like partially identified with it. But I just find that it catches my attention. Did that catch your attention as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit. One of the things, and I'm not trying to, please don't misunderstand me. I am not trying to talk down on non-veterans. I was proud enough to serve. I was able to serve. I was not in a war situation. I did everything here, literally here in Oklahoma. But I still think about those guys that were drafted in the military, sent over to Vietnam. They did what their government sent them to do. They were under orders. They followed the directives that they were taught and what they had to do. Then they come home and they have people spitting on them and calling them names.
Yeah.
And to the point that it's like 50 years later, you still got hardness around those veterans because they didn't do they did what they knew to be right and told to be.
Yeah.
Okay?
They didn't make that decision.
But you have people that have never been in this situation.
Yeah.
Over there making accusations that they have no idea.
It's crazy you brought this up. We should probably wrap this up. But I was thinking about this today, right? What would be the solution to people not understanding what you just said, the military side of things, and also what I went through in law enforcement? Because it's clear that the problem that these people talk about these things so much
have never experienced.
They don't understand it. Well, you know what Korea does? South Korea does?
Do you know what Israel does?
You know what?
You go ahead with South Korea.
South Korea forces every man into 2 years of service the moment they turn 18.
It's not just men in Israel.
I think Germany.
Every child has to serve 2 years.
Men and women. Wow.
Man and woman.
I think Germany does the same, or if you want to go to college, you have to go do the service.
I just think that'd be a great idea that if you went through that, if you did have an opinion on it, then at least it would be from a place of experience, not just shooting from the hip.
Well, how many of these useless politicians shoot from the hip without any experience, but they sit there and tell, don't get me started.
Do you know how hard it was for me as a chief of police? First of all, I was young. I was the second youngest chief of police in the state of Oklahoma. Do you know how hard, in fact, it didn't work out because I couldn't take directives from a guy that had never been even in the passenger seat of a patrol car. You're going to tell me how to run my department? Even though that's the landscape of it. That's your boss. You're supposed to. That
was the problem I had in almost every job that I had.
If
that person was a college graduate and never actually did the job, then I'm going to argue with them.
Yeah. We got to get out of here. It's 2:10. We got to wrap it up. Sorry, guys. We're in the middle of a conversation.
We
but
got way over into our opinions.
One last thing,
stuff.
Mike. It's Mike, right, that we just got through talking to. We absolutely in no way are insinuating that you were sexually molested.
No.
We're just talking about
general.
We were talking about past.
We've noticed.
Yeah. No, we're talking about past. We've got lists of them. I did not. I hope I didn't imply that. So
no.
Thanks for pointing it out.
No, just general. We just lumping in experiences from every other episode.
Disclaimer.
We just having thought experiments. That's all we're doing. So, but yeah, again, thanks for everybody for listening. I appreciate it. Larry, say your thing.
Jesus loves you, and so do I.
And thank you for watching and listening. We are out.
Thank you for watching or listening all the way to the end. To be a guest on the show or to get a hold of us, please contact us at info@helpmyunbelief.org. And more importantly, make sure to check out new episodes every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Central.